And also, Arsene Wenger was the first coach in English football to field a first 11 without an English player, to allude that it is possible to go a whole season without being defeated. At that time, xenophobia and racism was at its peak in UK. So majority of people were not very happy with that decision. And so there was so much hate towards Arsenal. So that journey, very many people are oblivious of that. They don't want to be told. The demand also for Arsene Wenger just to keep him in Arsenal was a huge task, because he was in very many teams were queuing for his signature. So the season ended invincible, and Arsenal won the English Premier League, something that rattled Manchester United and the rivalry of Arsenal and Manchester United. Manchester United ended that undefeated run of Arsenal 49 matches. Questioned, why is it that majority of English Premier League referees don't go to international tournaments like World Cup and Euros? Arsenal was financed by Fly Emirates, and that loan had to be repaid each and every season. That meant that Arsenal will always lose or they will always sell their marquee player of the season each and every season. Hello guys, welcome to the FOOTBALL-MACE. Chef Bill Mkono. It's gonna be slippery just as usual. Today I'm going to talk about the recurrent hate towards Arsenal. You know, I don't know if it's just an Arsenal thing or it is a color thing, or I have never ever understood the reason why pundits, the English media have so much hate towards Arsenal. Arsenal, since the Wenger days, the Wenger era and the Arteta era, Unai wasn't that vocal, even though he had a language barrier. But Arsene Wenger and Mikel Arteta, they are very vocal. They're precisely Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger, when he came to England, he wasn't that famous. He came from a Japanese league. People were not aware of what he's capable of doing. So Arsene Wenger came and revolutionized the football culture in England. That didn't go down well with very many people. He rattled so many people because he came and changed so many traits in the English football culture. For example, he introduced the nutrition and diet, something that majority of teams in the English Premier League, they were not conversant with. And also, Arsene Wenger was the first coach in English football to field a first 11 without an English player. And people in the UK were not very happy with that decision because they had never seen such a thing. At that time, xenophobia and racism was at its peak in UK. So majority of people were not very happy with that decision. And so there was so much hate towards Arsenal. Arsene Wenger was the first coach also to allude that it is possible to go a whole season without being defeated. Something that rattled Alex Ferguson, the English media and UK at large, because that was very many people didn't see that as a possible fate, but Arsene Wenger had the balls and he said it is possible to go a whole season undefeated. So the season ended invincible, and Arsenal won the English Premier League, something that rattled Manchester United and the rivalry of Arsenal and Manchester United. That streak continued into the following season, and Arsenal went 49 matches unbeaten. The unbeaten run came to an end at Old Trafford, and I remember that match was very controversial because of the incompetency of the English Premier League referees. I remember Mike Riley giving a very dubious penalty. Manchester United ended that undefeated run of Arsenal 49 matches. Arsene Wenger was very vocal the way officials in the EPL were officiating matches.
As it is well known, the referees are protected very well, what is right, like the lions in the zoo, and so we have to live with that decisions.
Questioned, why is it that majority of English Premier League referees...
I'm angry because I see no improvement, you know, and at the end of the day, there are two countries in Europe where you have professional referees, in Italy and in England. And not one English referee will go to the World Cup, but everything is all right. You cannot say a word against it, and but because we're untouchable. And
so that didn't go down very well with referees, and you can see it is evident from the decisions they made after that, or after those utterances. There were very silly red cards towards Arsene Wenger. So it's not something new. Even Arteta right now is going through the same thing, where he's questioning why is it that the officiating in the English Premier League is becoming worse season in, season out. And I remember also he rattled the PGMOL when with that statement when Arsenal was playing against Newcastle at St. James Park.
Because it's an absolute disgrace that this goal is allowed. It's an absolute disgrace. Because it's not a goal. For many reasons, it's not a goal. For more than one reason at least, it's not a goal. And it's too much at stake here. We put so much effort. It's so difficult to compete at this level. And it's an absolute disgrace. Again, I feel embarrassed. I've been more than 20 years in this country, and this is nowhere near the level to describe this as the best league in the world. I am sorry.
And it is evident from the decisions, the aftermath of that statement. There were very many red cards towards Arsenal players, very silly decisions being made, costing Arsenal points. And it is evident from the just concluded season 2024-2025. Arsenal has had 5 red cards and very many points. They have lost over 12 points because of poor officiating. I don't know what I can say, but it's very, very painful to see such decisions hampering Arsenal chances of winning the English Premier League. Each and every season there is this tag towards Arsenal, the trophyless season again. And I wonder, why is it that since Ferguson left Manchester United, they have never won the English Premier League? But why is it Arsenal always? The double standard, the gauging, the Arsenal is always under the microscope. Because a team like Chelsea, for instance, they have spent over £1 billion and they bought 34 players in 2 years. Last season, they did not participate in the Champions League. After spending £1 billion, £1 billion to buy players. But these teams have been in different journey. Like for instance, Arsenal in 2006, when Emirates was officially opened and Arsenal started playing there, Arsenal was financed by Fly Emirates, and that loan had to be repaid each and every season. That meant that Arsenal will always lose or they will always sell their marquee player of the season each and every season. And it was very, very painful watching these big players leaving Arsenal, going to look for greener pastures elsewhere. A player like Thierry Henry, Cesc Fabregas, Robin van Persie, Samir Nasri, players like Kolo Toure and Gael Clichy, Sagna, Adebayo. All these players left Arsenal just to look for greener pastures. And I remember that team that won, Manchester City team that won their first EPL trophy after very many years. That team had almost 5 players from Arsenal. So that journey, very many people are oblivious of that. They don't want to be told. The demand also for Arsene Wenger just to keep him in Arsenal was a huge task, because he was in very many teams were queuing for his signature. Keeping him in Arsenal was a very, very huge task, but he was loyal. The legendary coach was very loyal to Arsenal, and you can see the trajectory that Arsenal has taken since 2018. But we can see there is growth each and every season. We are just 4 or 5 players from winning a major trophy. Just this summer, get quality players, improve the squad, and I know next season will be there. The next season FC, the Netflix FC will be there next season, competing again. We should always be among the conversation. The journey we have been through, even to date, to be among the conversation of winning a major trophy, reaching semi-final in the Champions League. That was massive strides. And kudos to Arteta and the injuries he had this season, the struggle, the difficulties, but he managed to finish second, semi-finalist. That is huge after being away in the European competition for 7 years, 7 seasons. That is huge.